The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race has officially concluded from Talladega Superspeedway, and we see a very messy and chaotic race, a pretty bad coverage from Fox, and Brett Moffitt picking up the victory in the 34 truck. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. I just got done watching NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race from Talladega Superspeedway, the Love's RV Stop 250. We got quite a bit to talk about from this race. Let's go and talk about it. So first thing I want to talk about is the finish of this race. I think this actually was the best part of the truck race, except the first half. So we get the overtime restart. There's been a lot of cautions and a lot of chaos at the end of this race. We get to the restart. I believe you have Brett Moffitt on the front row of the restart with Christian Eckes on the outside. They both go side by side, and then you see lock bumpers happening, which, by the way, that is against the rules in the truck series. You're not supposed to lock bumpers. Then Christian Eckes and Chandler Smith, I think, were locking bumpers, and they got actually to the front, coming to the white flag. But going into turn number one, Brett Moffitt made a very, very impressive move to the outside and got a really, really strong run going down the back straightaway, and he was able to get up front and pass both guys for the race lead. Christian Eckes tried to go up there and block for the lead, but Christian got shuffled back out and would drop all the way back to finishing in 19th position. Brett Moffitt, though, however, was able to clear both Chandler Smith and Christian Eckes and was able to come off the corner, trying to hold off Parker Kligerman and Ben Rhodes for the win. But it wouldn't matter, as he would come off the corner and win here at Talladega Superspeedway. Massive congratulations to Brett Moffitt on picking up the victory. Of course, Brett Moffitt doing a one-off. This truck nearly missed the show. There was a good chance this truck was going to miss because I think it qualified 30th or 31st in this race, so it got him by 1 or 2 positions. Luckily for them, they had the pace and speed to be up front. I think Brett Moffitt definitely had one of the strongest trucks in this field, especially when he got up front the last 30 to 40 laps of this race. That 34 truck looked really, really good, and it's great to see Brett Moffitt winning a race once again. The last time Brett Moffitt had won a race in the top 3 divisions, I think, had come at Kansas in 2020, so I'm really happy with Brett Moffitt to pick up the victory. Huge congratulations to him. And again, I thought the finish was really, really solid. Glad to see the finish actually was clean and didn't have a big wreck that ended up happening in the race. Nonetheless, congratulations to Brett Moffitt on picking up the victory and getting the win with Farmer Motorsports. This could potentially be a race team that he's driving for next year in 2024. So now, let's talk about the overall race and give my score and thoughts on today's race, and we got to talk about Fox's coverage. So Brett Moffitt picks up the victory. Ben Rhodes finished second. Great run for Ben Rhodes today. Ran top 10, top 15 pretty much all day long. Has some great pace and great speed, and gets a very solid and respectful second place finish. Great run for Ben Rhodes. Dean Thompson finished third. Great run for him. I think that's his best finish since Texas or earlier this year somewhere else. I can't remember, maybe Charlotte. So great run for Dean Thompson. He's had a lot of bad luck this year. Good to see a race go well for him and finish in the top 3. Great run for him. Chandler Smith finished 4th. Obviously, Chandler Smith in substitution for Matt DiBenedetto. Of course, Matt DiBenedetto is no longer in that truck for the rest of the year. He's been kicked out of the team, or was let go from the team about 2 weeks ago. Glad to see Chandler Smith get a really respectful top 5 finish. It's been really cool to see Matt DiBenedetto go back-to-back in this race, but great day for Chandler Smith 4th. He actually ran a really good race, and Chandler Smith historically has not been great at Superspeedway, so good to see him actually run really, really good here at Talladega. Corey Heim finished 5th, obviously locked into the next round after winning a couple weeks ago at Bristol. But in my opinion, a very good run for Corey Heim in 5th place today. Daniel Dye finished 6th. He actually got a penalty for changing lanes on one of the later restarts. Fox never mentioned this, by the way. But a really good recovery. A career best day for him, as well as first career truck top 10 finish. So good run for Daniel Dye in 6th place. Nick Sanchez finished 7th. Nick Sanchez, I think, had the strongest truck in this field. Unfortunately, made a really, really bad mistake on the racetrack. He caused, I think, the last big one that ended up taking place that took out drivers like Greg Van Alst, who had a really, really scary and bad wreck. Matt Crafton was involved in the wreck, and Matt Crafton was pissed off at Nick Sanchez after that. There were a bunch of other drivers that were involved in that wreck, but Nick Sanchez caused a big one, and Derek Nealon, who was Nick's spotter, was not very happy about that. Hailie Deegan finished 8th. Solid run for her. Honestly, Hailie Deegan was kind of irrelevant in this race, but she kept her nose clean. I think she was hanging back toward the end of this race, and she decided to go up to the front at the end, and you know what? She got a really respectful top 10 finish. I think that's only her 3rd or 4th top, maybe her 2nd or 3rd top 10 of the year. So good to see at least she did get a top 10. Maybe out of luck, but still good to see her finish in the top 10 at Talladega. She really needed a good run. She's not had a good year this year in 2023. Really, the last couple years have not gone well for her. But good to see her finish in the top 10 and 8th. Parker Kligerman finished 9th. He's up front contending for the win at the end. Got trapped back near the end of the race. Lost a bunch of positions. He looked really good. Actually won Stage 2. Had one of the strongest trucks in the field as well. Good to see Under Motorsports showing some good pace and good speed. And good to see Parker Kligerman finishing in 9th. And Lawson gets a top 10. Good run for Lawson in 10th place. Carson Osbar finished 11th. Carson had a really, really good race going. It's just a shame he got in a little bit of controversy. He actually got into Roger Carruth near the end, and that collected Ryan Vargas, sadly, who got a ton of damage in that wreck as well. Just locking bumpers and hooking and bumper hooking, all that kind of stuff. You do that on super speedway, you could potentially cause a wreck, so it's a shame that ended up happening. But nonetheless, Carson Osbar is looking really good going into Homestead next week. He finished 11th. Speaking of Roger Carruth, he ended up finishing 12th. Roger had a pretty good day going, got involved in a couple wrecks, but he does end up finishing in the top 15. Good run for Roger in the top 15. Grant Enfinger finished 13th, despite all the damage that he had gotten in the many wrecks he was involved in this race. Got involved in a bash track about 50 laps to go. Then got involved in the final big one that ended up taking place. But he still recovered to get a solid top 15 finish. Decent run for Grant Enfinger. Jack Wood, despite the hood coming up and causing one of the cautions, he gets a very respectful top 15 finish in 14th. Garrett Smidley finished 15th. Good run for him. Brett Holmes finished 16th. Ryan Vargas, who got a lot of damage, still came home with a top 20. Actually got a top 10 in the Euro Series race last week, so good to see him getting a top 10 there, and then, of course, getting a top 20 here at Talladega Super Speedway. Taylor Gray finished 18th. Christian Eckes, who actually was leading on the white flag lap, got shuffled back at the end of the race and unfortunately fell back to 19th. Man, Christian Eckes was really looking good at the points. I still think Christian's in a pretty good position going into Homestead, but he could have been in a much better position had he finished a lot higher. And Jake Drew finished 20th, one lap down. Ty Majeski finished 21st. Unfortunately, had major damage from the last big wreck. I think he bent something on the left front of the car. It's a shame because he had a pretty solid truck, ran it from a lot of the day, got involved in that last big wreck. Corey Rober finished 22nd after getting involved in the wreck. Colby Howard finished 23rd. Matt Cratton finished 24th. Like I mentioned, he was involved in the final big wreck, and Matt Cratton was very unhappy with Nick Sanchez after that. Tanner Gray, after crashing out, finished 25th. Greg Van also had that very nasty ace. He still does get a solid top 30 finish. Jason White finished 27th, 11 laps down. Chase Purdy, after crashing out, finished 28th. He had a really good truck today, just made a bad mistake near the end, getting involved in a wreck with Colby Howard. I think Chase Purdy definitely had one of the 2 or 3 best trucks in the field, just made a really bad mistake. Jake Garcia, after having electrical gremlins and issues, unfortunately fell out of the race early but came back in and does get a top 30 finish. Tyler Hill finished 30th. Bailey Curry finished 31st. Zane Smith finished 32nd. He had a very interesting day. Zane Smith actually spun out coming into pit road and actually clipped one of his pit crew members, but that pit crew member was able to continue doing his work. Very impressive stuff, and it basically said, I'm ready to go. Unfortunately, Zane fell out after clutch issues, and then Fox started interviewing when he's in the car. I don't like that they did that, but nonetheless, he finished 32nd. Tyler Anker finished 33rd after crashing out. Stuart Friesen finished 34th. David Gillen finished 35th. And Brian Doza finished last in 36th. So now let's talk about the overall race as a whole, and I'll give you my score of today's race. I will say the first 2 stages I thought were really, really good and really, really exciting. It's just a shame that the ending of this race was very unwatchable. There was a lot of cautions that ended up happening. I think there were like 6 or 7 yellows in the final 45 or 50 laps of this race. And on top of that as well, they took forever to get these caution laps counting. It was just unbearable to watch at times. I don't understand why they took so long to get these cautions going. I thought they were going to go to overtime after 8 or 9 to go. Caution, luckily they red flagged it, but still, I don't understand why it took them so freaking long to go back racing. They wasted so many laps under caution, especially after stage number 1. They wasted so many laps under yellow in this race, and that's just something they've got to clean up going to next year. But the Truck Series has always had this problem for a very, very long time, and it was kind of unwatchable there. And I will say that affects my score. I'm giving today's Truck Series race overall a 5 and actually I give it a 6 out of 10 because I will say it was good in the first half, but the second half was really tough to watch. And I'll say a clean finish helped this race, but it only goes a 6 out of 10 for me. So that's my thoughts on the race. Let's talk about Fox's coverage. The other reason why the score is so low of this race, Fox's coverage. My God, I think this was the worst coverage so far of this season. It was unbearable to watch. The amount of commercials, especially from qualifying earlier in the day where we missed half the qualifying session, the amount of full-screen commercials going on at a super speedway race, I think that is completely unacceptable in my opinion. And the fact that they were interviewing drivers in the garage, they're interviewing Zane Smith in his truck. Zane did not want to be interviewed. He should have shut that radio off, and they still interviewed him anyways. It was so unwatchable, the coverage today. And not to mention, Jamie Little, I think she is an unbelievable pit reporter. She's great at her pit reporting job, but as a TV broadcaster, she is not that good in my opinion. She's pretty damn bad. She doesn't bring energy, you don't get excited, and it makes these truck races much harder. Adam Alexander is way better than her, and Adam Alexander would have done a much better job covering this race than she did. She's not been good with ARCA. I don't know why she's still doing lead commentary, because it makes these broadcasts completely unwatchable. And not to mention, it was just unwatchable. I had a foot fetish for Carson Osbar throughout. It was just really unwatchable TV coverage, in my opinion. And I really hope the CW or NBC picks up the coverage in 2025 for the Truck Series, because they absolutely need to, because this was unwatchable and absolutely ridiculous, in my honest opinion. I cannot believe how bad it was. There's so many things wrong with the coverage. The race ended not that great, and it was just really, really difficult to watch, in my honest opinion. So, that is going to be for today's short NASCAR Truck Series race review from Talladega Superspeedway. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe to the channel, notifications on when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Links description below that, and comment your thoughts below on today's race. What are your thoughts on today's race? Let me know below. Let me know your score in the comments below, and congratulate Brett Moffitt on picking up the victory. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Tomorrow on the channel of the NASCAR Cup Series race will be from Talladega Superspeedway. The Monday morning likely there is going to be a silly season update dropping on the channel instead of a NASCAR news video. Or if more NASCAR news breaks throughout the next couple days, there'll be one then. Got a lot of great content dropping on the channel that I cannot wait for you guys to check out as we close out 2023. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.